He's trying to find himself a job. There we go. Yeah, members, we're back on. The technical problems have been resolved. Now, if I go to Tom McCarthy to read out any potential additions to the condition that takes on board the opening hours, operational hours, and also the burn mitigation. So over to you, Tom.
Thank you, members. So based on discussions and the concerns raised, I think we could add a condition requiring submission of a bird management plan, which would seek to outline how they will be managing their operations to reduce potential for bird attraction and bird hazard. With regard to the hours of operations, so condition 2, in context of members' concerns, potentially what we could look to do is further restrict, so between 7 and 8 a.m, so the early initial hour of operation could solely be vehicle movements, so no turning on of machinery, and similarly for 7 to 8 p.m, Monday to Friday, just vehicle movements, so no machinery being turned on. And then for the crushing and screening as existing, the condition is recommending 8 till 5 Monday to Friday. We could look at 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. from Monday to Friday instead, so an hour less.
Members, has that met your approval?
Very much so. Yeah.
So do I take that, Councillor Harris, since you proposed that? And Councillor Steptoe second. There's only a minor typo in the addendum, so that's not really much to write home about. So it's been proposed and seconded. All those in favour? I think that's unanimous. Okay, thanks very much indeed. Thank you, members, and thank you, Tom, for presenting the.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so we go to the next item. Agenda item 5, County Council Development 5.1, land at Andrews Ways, Wolsey Park, Rayleigh. This is in the hands of Shelley. Over to you, Shelley.
Thank you, Chairman. We're just sorting out the screen. Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, members. Just before we start, I just wanted to draw members' attention to the addendum, the proposed deletion of condition 10, which is relating to tactile paving, which is no longer required because that's going to be provided by the wider residential developer, so it's outside of this application.
Thank you.
So this application is for a new 2-storey Special Educational Needs and Disabilities or SEND school, including photovoltaic panels, outdoor play spaces, parking area and associated works at land at Andrews Way in Wolsey Park in Rayleigh. The context, the site is 1.1 hectares in size and located within the wider Wolsey Park residential development for around 700 dwellings. And it's around 2 miles to the west of Rayleigh Station. The access points into the wider development are from Rawworth Lane to the north. There's 2 points here and here. And from the A129 London Road to the south, just here. The Rawworth Industrial Estate Road borders the site to the east and terminates in the industrial estate itself. That's this road, that's the industrial estate. And this is the Macros Cash and Carry building, and St Nicholas Primary School is located here. The site is fairly level with no trees or particular features. It's partly hard surfaced, having been previously used as a construction compound for the earlier phases of the surrounding residential development. Chancellor Street runs to the west of the site, where there is 2-storey housing and there are 3-storey flats and a parking court to the south. There's an existing planted bund along Rawworth Industrial Estate Road here. And this area to the north is allocated for health provision, but is still currently vacant. And also, it's worth noting while we're on this slide that the housing developer has been required to improve a pedestrian route through to St Nicholas Primary School, and that's already in place, and it runs through the estate from here. There's a crossing point approximately here, and then a pavement which runs all the way to public footpath 23, which runs all the way to the back of St Nicholas School playing field, and you can just about see the playing field there. So before we move on to the detail of the proposed scheme, by way of background, I've set out in section 7A of the report the policy requirements for the site. Broadly, the way the site is identified for residential development, and the site and other land is allocated for primary school and early years and childcare facilities. The policies don't specifically mention SEND provision, but the principle of SEND primary education would not be considered to be specifically excluded from acceptable uses on the site. Although it's considered that the intention of the local plan policies was to provide a mainstream primary school and early years and childcare facility for the residents of Wolsey Park, it's also considered that the policies allow flexibility for Essex County Council as the local education authority to assess the need for school places and provide appropriate places accordingly. Rochford District Council granted outline planning permission in 2015 for the wider residential development in accordance with those local plan policies. And this drawing on screen now is the land uses plan which was associated with the section 106 attached to that permission. It allocates the application site as a primary school, shown as the dark pink area, and it contains clauses relating to the use of the site for early years and childcare provision. Financial contributions have also been paid by the housing developer to ECC towards education provision, and this allows ECC to satisfy itself that the need for additional primary school places and early years and childcare places can't be met within the existing facilities at St Nicholas Primary School before building on the application site. And it's therefore of relevance that Essex County Council, as the applicant, considers that the St Nicholas School could be expanded to accommodate the mainstream primary and early years education, and noting that there is a projected deficit in mainstream reception age places from the year 2027. And the applicant considers that the best course of action would be to develop the application site for SEND. So turning now to the layout of the proposed scheme itself, the school would accommodate 150 primary school age pupils with special education needs. The nearest property that faces the site is located in Chancellor Street. The facade is approximately 30 metres from the proposed building. Other properties in Chancellor Street are side on to the site. The site vehicular access is from Andrews Way to the north, and the Bellmouth is already built out. Pedestrian and cycle access would also be in the north. A pedestrian access is also proposed on the western boundary, just here, and that would link with the existing footway and widened paved area which is already built on Chancellor Street. The building would be located in the central and southern section of the site, surrounded by various outdoor play areas, a forest school area, and a multi-use games area. The parking area would be located in the northern section of the site. The parking area would include circulation and queuing space for vehicles dropping off and collecting pupils. 69 parking spaces, including 6 accessible bays, are proposed, which significantly exceeds the minimum parking standards and corresponds to the projected number of vehicles using the site. In addition, there will be 7 marked minibus bays, minibus spaces within the circulatory space. queuing space has been calculated to accommodate the projected number of staff, minibuses and taxis likely to need to access the site, such that there is not anticipated to be queuing on the highway. A car park management plan has been submitted to show that school staff would manage the traffic at drop-off and pick-up times in a controlled way, ensuring that pupils can be escorted into and out of school when safe to do so. 50 cycle spaces are proposed and a school travel plan would be requested via planning informative. As this drawing shows, tree planting and hedging is proposed along all boundaries with a focus on the residential boundaries to assist with screening. The design includes external breakout spaces for individual classrooms and a mix of different play spaces for active or quieter play. There's a focus on safety and security given the nature of the school site, such that individual areas could be closed off if necessary. Vegetable plots and rain collection planters would be incorporated. So the building itself would be set over 2 floors with lifts to allow access. Here we can see the ground floor plan and the first floor plan. It will cater for pupils with a range of moderate to severe learning needs and profound and multiple learning disabilities. The proposal has therefore been specifically designed to accommodate these needs. The main entrance would be on the northern elevation in a single-storey part of the building. And I know you can't see the writing on that slide. The green spaces are the hydrotherapy pool at the front of the building and the double height hall with space for indoor sports and dining. The blue areas are staff offices and reception rooms. The yellow areas are shared spaces, including the library, medical rooms and therapy rooms. And the orange areas are classrooms, of which there are 20, accessed off a central spine over 2 floors. And this would allow classrooms on the ground floor to have direct access to outside space. The various rooms would include specialist sensory rooms and calm rooms, dedicated therapy rooms for physiotherapy, speech and language, and staff support spaces including workrooms and welfare facilities. There are toilets and hygiene rooms for each classroom. There's also proposed to be a large skylight which would be located above the library and core central space. The elevational treatment would be a mix of brick and render in natural tones. Colour and detailing would be provided on the fenestration, and the precise detail of this would come forward via condition. So just to explain the north elevation showing the main entrance, this is the pool area. The east elevation is that facing Rawreth Industrial Estate Road. You see the single-storey element at the front of the school here and the mugger at the back. The south elevation is the one facing the flats and the west elevation facing Chancellor Street. This is the roof plan. A green roof is proposed together with photovoltaic panels and air source heat pumps. The plant would be hidden from view at ground level by a roof parapet, and the building would be net zero in operation. These wouldn't be approved drawings, but I think it's helpful for members to see the visualisation drawings. So just to show, this would be the arrival view. The top drawing is the view from Chancellor Street, and the bottom drawing is the view from the macros slide with the mugger in the foreground there. And then this is just a massing view from the macros side again. So a few photos now. This is Chancellor Street with the school site on the right. You can see the paved and widened area that I spoke about before, and the new gate would be approximately here into the school site. this property is the one, the nearest facing property into the site. These are the flats on the southern boundary of the site. This photo is taken from Andrews Way, looking west into Wolsey Park itself, with the application site on the left, and across into the application site. Again, a view to the flats. And again, just showing the closest property here facing the site, and that the other properties in Chancellor Street are side on. This is Andrews Way looking onto Rawreth Industrial Estate Road, with the application site entrance on the right. And this is Rawreth Industrial Estate Road looking south, and this is the planted bund along the side of the school. And just to explain again, this is the existing footpath that the developer has put in. So this is running through the estate and out onto Rawreth Industrial Estate Road. And that's the public footpath that leads through to St Nicholas School. Now, the reason this application is before members today is because we've received 14 letters of representation, which are summarised in the report. Some representations were in support of the school, but there were also concerns relating to traffic, amenity impact, and the use of the site for SEND as opposed to mainstream education provision. Aside from the local member, we've received no objections from consultees, and it's noted that Rawreth Parish Council supports the application. The local member has raised concerns on behalf of residents as set out in the report, including the suitability of the access, that traffic should be directed via Rawreth Industrial Estate Road instead of via Andrews Way, parking provision, overshadowing, and amenity impact. Traffic and highway impact is addressed at section 7G of the report. There is no highway safety or capacity reason to require traffic to use any particular route. However, the applicant has committed to advise staff and minibus drivers to access the site via the Rawreth Industrial Road direction only. It's considered that the traffic generated by the development could be safely accommodated on the highway and within the site parking proposals, and there's no objection from the Highway Authority. Amenity is also addressed in the report at section 7F, and it's considered that the layout of the site has been carefully thought out to avoid amenity impact as far as possible. The distance to surrounding properties is appropriate according to relevant guidance, and the assessments supporting the application don't anticipate significant adverse impact. It's considered that the existing planning permission allows Essex County Council the flexibility to provide mainstream primary provision elsewhere before developing the application site. And importantly, the applicant has presented a strong need case for new SEND places in Essex and in the Rochford area, and great weight is applied to this need in accordance with the NPPF. It's therefore considered that the development would comply with the relevant policies in the Rochford local plan and the NPPF, and it's recommended that planning permission is granted subject to the conditions set out in the report and as shown in the addendum. Thank you.
Thanks so much, indeed, Shelley. Thank you. We'll now invite Claire Newbury to come to the You've got 3 minutes, and Gemma will give you a prompt when there's 30 seconds left.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. This application will deliver a much-needed SEND school for pupils with severe and profound multiple learning difficulties, which will be run by the Zenith Academy Trust, who are here today, and who have a track record of delivering and managing such schools. The site was earmarked for education use within the Wolsey Park strategic site, but the Section 106, as Shelley said, charged Essex County Council to make sure that the need could not be delivered within the existing primary provision within the locality. The Education Authority are confident that the mainstream needs can be met through the existing provision and expansion of St Nicholas Primary School. There is, however, an immediate and pressing need for the SEND school in this part of the county, which was identified as part of the Everyone's Essex strategy. The proposals to provide a new special school in this area were agreed by Cabinet members in May 2024. The site is the only one available to deliver such a facility in this part of the county. The scheme has been designed to meet the requirements of BB 104 and DFE standards and is policy compliant in all respects. Various building layouts and positions were considered to assess the internal and external benefits and relationships. The scheme before you delivers the optimum outcomes in terms of the learning environment, stimulating external space and relationships with neighbouring properties. The car park has been laid out to accommodate all cars and minibuses with a rigorous car park management plan to be implemented to ensure that there will be no detrimental impacts on the highway. And this kind of management plan has been successfully implemented in other such schools. In developing the scheme, the design team had regular meetings with the trust to understand the particular needs of the pupils. The team also undertook pre-app engagement with the County Planning Authority, the Highways Authority, the LLFA and the Quality Review Panel, whose comments have all fed into the final design. An online community engagement exercise was also undertaken, generating helpful feedback, which the design team took on board where appropriate. Notably, there was a significant number of people that were supportive of a SEND school in this location.
30 seconds.
Overall, the proposals will enable pupils with the most complex needs to receive the outstanding education that they need. It will reduce the need for children to travel outside of their community to receive suitable education. It will relieve pressure on mainstream school system, proposing a purpose-built, high-quality learning environment, meeting sustainability objectives, and it will provide a specialist hydrotherapy pool, which will be made available to others to use. Thank you.
Spot on. Well done. Thank you. Before you leave, will the school be called Wolseley Park?
Question for Andrew.
Yes. It will be. Thank you. You guessed that. Thank you. Okay, if you'd like to go back to the gallery. Thanks so much indeed for your presentation. Members, Councillor Seplow first.
Thank you, Chairman. Members will have often heard me say when schools come forward that there's lack of architectural detail and particularly drop-off and pick-up areas within the applications we've seen. I'm pleased to see that in both cases here that has been made provision for. A couple of questions though, if I may. The bell mouth for the entrance to the car park, is that a single or double width? And with regards to the roof garden area, is that going to be accessible for the pupils? And the public right-of-way that was shown on the screen, for those outside the application site, do we know who's responsible for its maintenance?
3 questions there, Shelley.
Yeah. So the access, the Bellmouth access is double vehicle width. I'm looking at Matt. Yes. The maintenance of the footpath would be Essex County Council because it's a public right of way. Where it becomes a public right of way, it will be.
Just wanted to clarify that. Yeah.
I'm sorry. The second question.
The roof garden
Will be accessible to pupils.
will that be accessible to pupils? Okay, that I think is a pity.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Councillor Harris.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm quite envious, really. SEND provision is much needed. I'm looking at the detail here, 56% in this area, but across the whole of Essex, there's increasing need for this sort of education provision, so I'm glad that it's on the cards. A couple of buts, though, of course. I support Councillor Steptoe's remarks there. The fire service recommends sprinklers. I'd like that to be mitigated and put in there as a definite rather than, because, you know, why wouldn't you listen to a fire brigade officer when he makes recommendations? So I think sprinklers in this sort of school would be ideal. The parking, the number of staff it says in here is 86 and there's 69 spaces. I see the plan, but I just want to sort of get reassurance that that can be managed in a way that works, bearing in mind, as the report says and the officers say, with SEND children, it's much better, it's more definite requirement to manage that in and out, as it were. And I understand, you know, you understand why. I want to make sure that that management plan is fit for purpose and works. And there's a mugger attached to this, as I see. Now, I don't know if the officer can correct me, but it looks to me it's very close to the flats at the end of the site. Now, I love the idea of the mugger. It's great, healthy living, etc. There's going to be a lot of good use there. But is it going to be used at bank holidays, weekends, and sold off spaces for people to use that at weekends, etc.? Because those people in those flats may not be too happy with that unless they're involved in playing a bit of basketball in a mugger. I love the idea of the mugger, but maybe we could sort of think about how we're going to do that. I don't know what the intentions are, and there's no detail in the report that says hours of use, but I know in my area, Mr. Chairman, there was an issue where a mugger was put in, and Saturday afternoons and Sunday afternoons, the residents locally were disturbed quite dramatically by the banging of the ball, but not so much that, parents shouting and, dare I say it, swearing in the background over the fence, encouraging their children. We all support our children and what they do in sports, don't we? Because we're competitive people. But how are we going to manage that? Those are my questions.
Okay, thanks so much indeed, Councillor Harris. Did you get them all down?
I think so.
Yeah.
So the sprinklers, my understanding is that's a building regs requirement, so, or to be dealt with at building reg stage. Rather, I don't think that's something we can require by condition at planning stage.
Chair, could we put a comment or remark? I certainly
Informative that we
have
expect.
children, no staff in that building, but the officer says that he recommends it, and I'd like to listen to that, and at least we can put that commentary in there for the future.
I think the applicant is in the room.
It is sprinkled.
It will be, yeah, it will be, yeah. Okay.
With regards to parking, page 102 of the report goes into that in a bit of detail. I will say my experience of SEND schools is that it is managed in a way that is quite different to mainstream provision. The car park management plan has said that there will be school marshals on site at the beginning and end of the day, and it has to be managed very securely for the children. They usually can't be kept in vehicles for any length of time. When they can see they can get out, they want to get out. So it's managed so that the timing of that is pretty punctual. And then, so the gates are closed when children exit vehicles so that it's safe and then they can get into school quickly. So, you know, based on the numbers that are in the application, there is enough space within the proposal to do that.
They want Brolly's chair on rainy days.
Okay.
And the mugger chair.
The mugger, yeah, use of the mugger.
Yeah, the mugger, the site is constrained in size. The mugger positioning is probably one of the best locations in terms of amenity impact. No community use is proposed through this application. And there's no lighting on the mugger either, so that would restrict its use in the evenings. There is a noise report included in the application which suggests that noise shouldn't be significantly impactful for amenity.
Okay with that? Yeah. Sure, yeah. Thank you. Councillor Harry.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. I think genuinely there's a danger that the longer I sit in the room, the more I'm going to morph into each of you, because every single time I come here, either Mike or Dave or you ask the question that I've got written down. I'm concerned that we're actually becoming one person.
Yes, I got your message the other day, Councillor Henry.
Beyond the points that they've raised, I do not have a problem with this at all. I know Zenith Multi-Academy Trust, they have a primary school and a secondary school in my division. I trust them, I get their culture, I get their entire intentionality.
Yeah.
I think the design, I don't think I've liked any building design since about 1930, so the design is what it is, and it looks like what's a reasonable interpretation of what it is. But I think the intentionality is great, and I have absolutely no problem supporting it. So, being as Dave and Mike have stolen every question I might have asked, I'm happy to recommend it.
Okay, thank you. On the design, it's laudable that the applicant has gone to the Essex Quality Review Panel, because not many applicants choose to go down that route, and the comments that they've made have been taken on board, which is really, really good to see. Councillor Bathlin.
Thank you. I'd second that motion, Chairman, but I'm speaking as a member of this committee and not as a Deputy Cabinet Member for Children's Services, but we've all sat in council and heard how desperate a situation we've got in this county of the provision of SEND placements, etc. And like Councillor Harris, I'm quite envious of this school. And in actual fact, the scheme that's put in front of us this morning is absolutely good. It really is. It's one of the better ones that I've seen since I've been sitting on this committee. So I applaud whoever is responsible for that design and the thought that's gone behind it, and fully support it.
Thank you, well done. And as we're all saying what our roles is, I've been the Vice Chairman of PAC for many years, and I've shared the lead on the SENS group, and this is very much the what the county is absolutely crying out for. Say no more on that. There is Gadden got a recommendation to be deleted, as Shelley pointed out at the beginning. It's been seconded, it's been proposed and seconded. All those in favour, please show. And with the abstention of...
I can't vote, so it's not an abstention.
Would you like it to be recorded as abstention or not?
No, I'm not voting. I can't vote.
Wouldn't vote at all. Okay, so Gemma, would you like to confirm?
That's 7 members for.
The application therefore granted. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for the presentation.
Excellent.
We go to agenda item 6. Councillor Flynn, are you still okay for another 12? Yeah. Agenda item 6 is unusual appeal. 6.1, land south of Archerfield, close Burnt Mills Industrial Estate in Basildon. As you members will recollect, this was a very long application we held in the chamber last year, and although it's not appropriate, I will mention it, that Richard Greaves, who was occupying Tom's seat, was instrumental in organising a consultant who defended the appeal for us. And he did an absolute smashing job, sterling, first class. We limited the 5 to 1 count only, which proved to be absolutely spot on. And the inspector totally agree with us. I don't know if I stole your thunder, Tom, but I'll hand over to you now.
Yeah, I think I'm morphing into you as well. Just to briefly remind members, we had a planning application for a proposed development of an energy recovery facility, ancillary office block, associated infrastructure development on land south of Archersfield Close in Burnt Mills Industrial Estate. It was considered twice by yourselves, first on the 26th of January 2024 and then again in May 2024 following the submission of additional information. At the May meeting, it was resolved to be refused. The refusal was appealed by the applicant, and a public inquiry was held over 5 days in June this year. As Chairman said, we, via consultants appointed, sought to defend reason for refusal one only, which was the visual impact on neighbouring residential areas, albeit we did also put forward the perception of harm to health and well-being as a material consideration to be considered in the planning balance. The appeal was dismissed and the decision was issued by the inspector appointed by the Secretary of State on the 1st of September, and a full copy of that is provided in Appendix 1 of the agenda.
Members, this is just for information, but I will take the time out to write to Richard.
Yeah.
I've been in touch with him, and I think I'll express the gratitude and from the committee, if that's okay. Councillor Henry.
Probably as the most local member, I did just want to highlight that I think as a committee we spent a lot of time. I know we obviously had the recommendation we put in February. We then went back in the May, and we physically visited it in between. I think that should go on record and be noted that, you know, the work that Terry and others did in the run up to that and bringing that, it was never about the what or the who, it was just about the where. And the work that Terry did on the previous application about tidying up that site was incredible. And if that was done, the whole area would be a vastly different thing. But I do very much appreciate the committee and officers' time in organising the trip to there, and the time that we spent considering that and looking at it. It wasn't as, you know, it wasn't perhaps as complex as Rivenhall, but it certainly wasn't as clear as just
Nothing is complex as Rivenhall.
No. So I just wanted to go on record to say that, you know, Terry and the work that he did was incredible. The work that they did, you know, in the run up to just bringing the application, the consideration of the committee and the officers that support us, but also then the work that Richard and the entire team took to get us to where we are to running the appeal. I think
everybody agrees with your comments, and the site visit, even though the balloon wasn't there, it still was quite visible what the impact would have been. So well done, members. Thank you very much indeed, Tom. That's we'll pass them. Thanks to Terry. We then now go to agenda item 7, which is enforcement, and 7.1. This is one of the favourite topics of Sean's in bedtime story reading. Land at Borough Farm, Newmarket Road, Great Shettersfield. So over to you, Sean.
Thank you, Chairman. How's it going to work? On the screen. Good morning, members. The background in relation to this case is well documented. However, I will provide a quick summary. The CPA served an enforcement notice in 2022, which was subject to an appeal, which was subsequently dismissed and the enforcement notice upheld. The enforcement notice requirements, as varied, including the deadlines, are detailed within the report. To remind members, I will just draw your attention to the following series of photographs. So this is obviously just a simple area of the site and a rough boundary of the area in question. And then we move through. So this is maybe back to the site, how the site looked in August 2022. So this is just looking across towards the southwest. This is looking towards the southwest and southern part of the triangle. And then just looking across to the north is the building, and then the mobile home in front there, which was welfare facilities. So the next series is a series of photos from September 24, which will just give you an idea of like how the site evolved over that period of time. So again, this is looking across to the west and the extensive amount of material on site. This is looking into the southern triangle. So the entire southern triangle, as you probably recall, is filled with material. And again, slide 7, just again showing material stockpile throughout. And then this is a view looking across the rear of the site to the southwest, showing the sheer extent of the volumes of plant, equipment and machinery that are present. So in March 2025, the report presented to members confirmed requirements A, cease the use, and B, removal of waste material had not been met as per the recommendation members' resolution. The CPA instructed Essex Legal Services to commence prosecution. A subsequent report on the 27th of June confirmed none of the enforcement requirements had been met as per the timeframe stipulated. Officers continued to liaise with Essex Legal Services with regard to the prosecution. On August 22nd, the latest report, the visit undertaken in July 25 noted significant progress in respect of the extant enforcement notice and its requirements. Officers were content that requirements A, ceased the use, and B, removal of waste had largely been met. The office and mobile home were no longer in use and were simply waiting collection, and requirement D, remediation of land, that the levels works from the triangle were acceptable. However, there remained some piles of material and a lot of additional plant equipment which still needed to be removed from site. The visit on the 11th of September 25 confirmed the site remains non-operational. From observations, further progress towards compliance with the notice was evidence. So, in that all waste material, vehicles, mobile home and the office building have now been removed from site, and accordingly officers were content that the requirements A, B and C of the notice have now been complied with in full. In terms of the requirement D, officers remain content that the profile levels within the southern triangle and once seeded would deem this area and the site remediated. The landowner has indicated that the seeding would take place before the end of October. So just to give you some photos of how the site looks now. So this is the visit from September. So you can see again looking over towards the buildings. This is again that sort of western boundary of the site. Obviously you'll note there is still some equipment there. And this is the southern triangle, so effectively the land is completely clear, other than that part of the land that is the land which we require to be seeded. And then obviously this is looking into the back of the site. It just shows you that, so there's still, as outlined previously, there remains quite a lot of plant and equipment, including the wash plant and a filter press, which still needs to be removed from the area to the north. However, this plant and equipment is non-operational and there is not considered any ongoing use. It's understood from the operator that this plant equipment have recently been sold and discussions are ongoing in terms of logistics to remove these. In respect of members' resolution to commence prosecution for failure to comply with the requirements of the notice, as outlined, it is considered the circumstances have changed significantly in that full compliance with the notice is now close to being achieved. As detailed within ECC's local enforcement and site monitoring plan, there are two stages in the decision to prosecute. One, the evidential test, and two, the public interest test. While the CPA consider that we have sufficient evidence, in context that full compliance is near, a prosecution is now considered unlikely to be viewed as being in the public interest to pursue. The enforcement notice will remain on the land and officers will continue to monitor the site to ensure full compliance. However, assuming the outstanding works are completed and noting nothing changes on site, the CPA will not take any further action in terms of pursuing the prosecution for failure to comply with the original timeframes detailed within the notice.
Sean, thank you very much indeed. And on behalf of the committee, I'd like to convey our thanks for an excellent job done.
That's right.
What the site looked when we saw it, when we had our training session, I think everybody was aghast to see what. So well done. Great achievement. Members, any comments?
I mean, for me, Chair, it was tons of it, massive amount, isn't it? I don't know where it's all gone, but they've obviously just digested it somewhere, you know.
Maybe Sean's got a magic wand, you know. No, well done. Excellent, superb.
Thank you.
Okay, so we go to the other enforcement item, which is Place Farm Place in Doddinghurst in Brentwood. Over to you again, Sean.
Thank you. The land to which this report relates is located at Place Farm Lane, Doddinghurst, Brentwood, and is roughly 1.5 hectares in size. So slide 1 just shows the area of the land concerned. The area forms part of a wider agricultural holding, which now comprises a number of non-agricultural uses which are located in here. So again, this is just an area where I think it gives you a bit of visual of the area. You can see what was marked there, which concerned, and the material that's present. The nearest residential properties are those to the east and west of Place Farm Lane, and to the north, which are approximately 100 metres from the site boundary. There's also a public bridleway located 100 metres north-east, which runs parallel to the boundary of Churchwood. That's up towards here, just near that where the lake is. and a further footpath to the south. The site forms part of the Metropolitan Greenbelt and as detailed in the policies map accompanying the adopted Brentwood local plan. For reference, Churchwood to the north-north-east of the site is an ancient woodland and local wildlife site. Following a joint visit with Brentwood Borough Council on the 12th of July, the CPA identified 3 breaches of planning control. 1, the waste recycling facility involving the importation, storage and treatment of waste within the main Place Farm yard. 2, the adjacent use of the agricultural field for the importation, storage and deposit of waste. And 3, the unauthorised importation and deposit of waste to create bunding. So just give you some images for them. So this is within inside the main recycling facility, which is part of that Place Farm yard. Same here, just shows you a relatively small area. And then we're moving in. So this is oh, it's going to catch up. There we are. This is the field showing the material deposited. Again, all the way around the boundaries. And then if we move into the last which appears, so this is the area of trees that has been cleared out and bunding, they call it bunding, waste deposited throughout, and you can see that spans right up to around the tree roots. So the subsequent harm assessment score suggested it was expedient to take formal enforcement action. However, the landowner operator indicated they were willing to work with the CPA and requested an opportunity to submit a retrospective application in respect of the breach 1 waste recycling facility within the main yard. And an informal opportunity to resolve breaches 2 and 3. In line with ECC's enforcement site monitoring plan, the CPA initially sought to engage with the relevant parties. Unfortunately, the CPA failed to receive satisfactory confirmation that the works required to resolve breaches 2 and 3, so the field and the bund, would be completed. For clarification, the use of the field for waste development and the bunding created is considered contrary to planning policy within the Essex and Southend local plan and the local plan. In context of this, the harm identified and that the CPA were not confident the breaches would be resolved informally, it was considered expedient to serve an enforcement notice. In respect of breach 1, the recycling yard, the CPA are currently content to withhold potential enforcement actions subject to an application being submitted within 3 months, a deadline being the 16th of October. If such application is not forthcoming, the CPA will reconsider the expediency of formal enforcement action. Accordingly, on the 10th of September 25, the CPA served an enforcement notice in respect of the field use and the bund. The notice will take effect on the 30th of October 2025 unless an appeal is made against it beforehand. The report details the requirements of the notice and the relevant timeframes compliance. Thank you.
Sean, thank you very much. And the appeal period is 28 days. They've got 20 days to appeal.
Yeah, so they have until the 13th, effectively, if they decide to submit an appeal.
Thank you very much indeed for your action and your presentation. Members, any comments? Well done. Thank you. Excellent. So we go to agenda item 8, information items, which is stats, and the majors are crept back into the 90s, so well done to the team. And 20 live enforcement case, so you're not going to be bored, Sean, are you? And I think we've just come to the end of our 100% on the manor, so well done. That is the end of the meeting. Before we go, if you remember the last committee meeting, we undertook to write to Tom Blackburn-Mays about Section 106 money and other money that had been secured for highways improvement. Matt is here. I've not read the response yet. Maybe when you do see Tom, you could prod. Because it's not just the one application that we discussed at the last committee, it'll be county-wide, because there'll be other items where, I don't know if you are aware what the issue was.
No, I've not seen it.
There was an application that came before us where some money had been secured to improve a set of traffic lights. It was 6,000. The whole of the scheme would have cost 40,000, but there was another 20,000 by planning application from the relevant district council. So what's going to happen to that money once we go through LGR? You know, that's the thing. You know, the concern was, is that going to be lost in translation and the scheme never going to be delivered? So if you do see Tom, please prod him. I mean, irresponsibly.
I'll build it before.
Yeah, before LGR is finished. Yeah. Excellent. Thanks so much, members. Our next date of next meeting is on last Friday of the month. I haven't got the agenda in front of me. Dermot, help me out on that. 24th of October. Thank you very much indeed, members.